He's awesome with social media. He's written a lot of books. He's like, when I was thinking about bios, who is the best person to come in here and talk about bios? It's like there was no question Dan came to my mind. And so it's not the first time he's talked about this topic. I'm really excited that he's doing this for us. So welcome, Dan. Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Dan. Go for it.
Hey, it's good to be here. Good to see you guys. So yeah, I was kind of hoping the Bucks would win the Super Bowl, but I guess that didn't work either, huh? So anyway, yeah, I'm just gonna jump in because I think one of the big things that I'll be talking with you guys a little bit about today is really about our stories, right? And this is really important because when you think about all of the messages that we get out there, I think I forget some of the studies I've seen recently say that we're getting 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 commercial messages and stuff like that blasted us every day, right? So we're getting inundated with information all the time and stuff, So especially when we think about this idea of how do we like kind of connect with our customers or potential customers or clients and stuff, it's important to understand the different types of messages and really consistently over time. One of the things I've seen is just the stories are the things that people connect with the most, right? We don't always connect with some big marketing message and fact sheet about how awesome a product is and stuff too. If you even think about even a lot of the ads, we're talking about Super Bowl and stuff, right? Think about a lot of the ads, the stuff. You see a lot of people really trying to kind of connect with this feeling and connect you with a story or something, something that's going on, a cause and a purpose and things like that is the type of thing that people really connect with. And I mean, this is something that's been true for thousands of years, right? Before written history and stuff, people would sit around and share their stories, about their families and their traditions and their culture and things that go on and stuff, right? They use it to communicate values and things like that. So the stories are the things that we really connect with. It gives us an opportunity to understand people a little more personally and connect on a little bit more of an emotional level rather than just a fact-based intellectual level, right? So stories are going to be really, really important. When I do this today, I'm going to bounce around back and forth, and I'm going to ask you guys some questions. I want to try to have this be a little bit of a conversation, and I'm not just going to try to sit here and teach. I've got a couple slides and stuff I'm going to show you and kind of bounce back and forth and stuff. And Tammy and I were just kind of talking back and forth over text messages ahead of time. I'm actually recording this session too as a video, so that if you want to play it back or something like that later on, you can do that too as well. So we'll look forward to that. But these slides here, I'm going to hit a couple slides here really quick that I've got. So what's your story, right? This is what we're talking about. How to build a bio that really resonates with your clients. Like I said, the story is that's the big thing, right? It's just the thing that's going to allow us to really kind of get in and connect, and we can use our story to really dig into, create something that the potential customers will connect with, right? To start off, right, as we dig into this idea of the story, the really most important thing is to start with why. Some of you may or may not be familiar with, there's a guy named Simon Sinek, S-I-N-E-K, is his last name. He's got a great TED Talk, and if you search "Start with Why" on YouTube or something like that, you'll probably find his TED Talk out there and stuff too. So it's just a little 18-minute video or so, I think, that really kind of digs into this idea of why we start with why. But really, one of the interesting things that he says and that he talks about too is that people buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Okay. Let's see. And I'm to get into this. I'm going to actually share a little bit of a story. one of my clients, actually, my father-in-law, full disclosure. He's a roofer here. I'm in Sarasota, Florida. He's a roofer here in town and been a roofer for a long time, but moved to Florida from Iowa. Grew up kind of horse and buggy Amish Iowa country. You know, when I started helping him with his digital marketing, his website, and his social media stuff, you know, I'm trying to kind of get him to understand this idea of, you know, hey, we need to, you know, communicate your message and stuff. You know, as a roofer, he wasn't the cheapest guy in town, and he knew that. You know, so we're trying to kind of deal with this idea of like, well, why should somebody spend more money to come work with you, right? You know, why should they just go with somebody who bid a little bit lower price? You know, so I'm telling them, you know, it's like, hey, it's your story. This is the thing that people are really going to connect with, right? So I'm trying to dig in. I'm like, hey, what's your story? You know, what really drives you? What motivates you? He's like, I don't have a story. And I'm like, no. I say, I know you've got a story in there somewhere. You know, what is he? I don't have a story. He's like insisting, I don't have a story. You know, I'm trying to say, but why do you work the way you do? You know, so see, we're kind of starting with that why, you know, that why question. Why do you do what you do? He says, listen, I don't have a story. All I know is that when I was a kid, and I'm thinking, oh Lord, here we go. Here comes the story, right? He says, when I was a kid, growing up, and you know, I understood too, you know, horse and buggy Amish and stuff like that too. He says, my dad would build things, and you know, so when I'm climbing up on top of a house and helping him, you know, build a house or put a roof on a house or something like that too, he said he taught me to build things that would last. He says, you know what, back in those days, if you wanted to get a roof put on your house, he said there were two kinds of people. He said there were your craftsmen and then there were your con men, right? And the con men were the ones that they go around and they do your project, you know, get a deposit, maybe not even show back up. But even if they did show up and do it, they do shoddy work and stuff, and that just it wouldn't be worth it. And really focus more on maximizing their profit rather than actually building something that would last. So my dad taught me to be a craftsman. He taught me to build something that was going to last a long time and be really great quality, right? So I'm like, Amos, this is a pretty great story. And he says. But back then, you know, he says you had craftsmen, you had your con men and stuff. So, but what the government did is they came in and said, you know what, we need to stop this problem with these con men taking people for their money. So they set a set of standards, and they said in order to be a roofer, put a roof on somebody's house, you had to have a license, right? So they created this, the contractor's license and stuff. You know, you had to be a licensed roofing contractor if you're going to put a roof on somebody's house. So he said what they did, though, is they set a minimum standard that people have to live up to. He says the problem with the minimum standard is that people live up to the minimum standard. He said, but what happens to the craftsman, right? You know, and like, you know, that's it. That's the story. That's the thing people are going to connect with. You're a craftsman. You're going to build something that lasts, right? You know, so as we then think about our digital strategy and stuff, you know, we focus on why. Why does he do things that he does? You know, he doesn't want to put a roof on somebody's house that's going to, you know, be worthless in 5, 6, 7, 10 years or something like that. He wants to put a roof on somebody's house that's going to last 20, 25, 30 years or more, you know. So yeah, he's not the cheapest guy in town, but he's a craftsman, right? So you can see how now, when we start with that why, that part of his story and stuff, and why he does the things that he does, we can start to build kind of a message around that. We can start to kind of identify him as he's different than other roofers because he's a craftsman. He's going to build something that lasts, right? Does that make sense so far? Everybody kind of with me?
It does, yeah.
Right. Cool. Awesome. So, but here's the thing with the story, right? You know, it's great to have your story and understand why. And, you know, Amos, he's a craftsman roofer. He's going to do things different. But one of the most important things is that, you know, if you try to craft your message so that you are the hero, right, it's not going to work, right? Because really, the most important story, it's not about you, right? The most important story that you can interact with is really the story that belongs to your customer, okay? So we need to start to understand things like who they are, right? You know, what makes them tick, what drives them, what kinds of things are they looking for, and so you guys are real estate agents, right? So I'll throw this out as a question to you guys really quick, and we just kind of talk for a second. But when you think about the people you serve, who are they? What kinds of things are they looking for? What kinds of things drive them?
Looking for a house.
I'm sorry?
They're looking for a house.
Yeah, looking for a house. What does that mean to different people? So, and I'll throw this out there, right? Let's see, I'm married and I have 5 kids. I'm in elementary school up to high school and stuff like that too. Me looking for a house might be different than maybe somebody who's looking for a luxury condo or something like that, right? So what are some of the different things that kind of drive some of the people you serve? Because it's not just looking for a house, right? What are they looking for?
Like, are you asking like the price of the home? Could be all over the how many bedrooms they need, the area, location.
Yeah, location. Yeah, I know as a parent might not be looking for school districts or stuff. What are some of the good school districts I can live in? I don't know. Quite a bit. What are some of the other things you guys encounter that really makes people tick?
I think a sense of belonging, if it's belonging to a certain community, being near aspects, but like location, but also like this fulfillment of I have arrived. This is a physical representation of I have arrived. I have achieved something.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I see that. I see that a lot. I have a real estate agent who's a client here locally in the Sarasota area, and if you're familiar with the area, we've got some of these barrier islands, Siesta Key, Longboat Key, and stuff. And she works out of Longboat Key, so she works with a lot of people who are going for this status. They don't care about school district. Their kids are all growing up. They're looking for status, right? The highest floor on the most beautiful beach kind of thing, stuff, So, absolutely. What else? What are some of the other things you guys encounter?
Dan, the sound is kind of going in and out occasionally, so if we don't catch everything, I don't know if there's anything that can be done on that side, but we're still with you, but we're missing a couple. So what other kind of things? I mean, I think it's the tangible and the intangible. I think what you had said, they normally don't verbalize the arrived kind of thing, but they don't verbalize that, but yet it's important. I think school systems, I think
if some people are moving from a different state, like even the trees, like around them, are like, wow, this reminds me of Georgia with the pine tree, just different trees like that. Also that it's like a deeper, that connection that you're getting with the customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me ask you this too, real quick. And kind of thinking about the why question, right? So it's definitely important to understand the customers that you deal with. But what's your why? Why do you guys do the things that you do? Why are you in this job, and what drives you? What motivates you?
I have a lot of millennials and or children of some of my past clients, and for me, I almost take on the mother aspect, and they don't know what they don't know, but I do, and so I kind of teach them and guide them and help them self-discover. So for me, I look at it as a treasure hunt. But then when I see them going in their direction, I'm like, oh, this is not good for resale. I kind of gently nudge them and say, okay, let me just be your mom for a second or play devil's advocate. So that's what I get out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. I like that. Somebody else, what do you do?
I like the relationship building. I do it. I'm really kind of friends with my clients, like, and they're people that I would hang out with on a normal daily basis. So
that's great.
Yeah, I've learned this from my husband. We both love relationships. He's a builder, and we're actually friends with people 15 years ago that he's built their house for. And so I think for both of us, it's just we love the relationship. And
yeah. Absolutely, and that's huge, you know, because I'm sure you could probably think of other agents, not you, any of you guys, but other agents out there who aren't so much like that, right? You know, they're driven by other factors and stuff too, and you know, being driven by relationship is certainly a differentiator, right? That makes you different than a lot of other people out there in the business, right? Yeah. What else? Anybody else? What drives you?
I'm a little bit weird, but I love the inventory. But I'm also brand new and I'm just an admin, so maybe it'll wear off in a few years. But I always love looking at listings. I love floor plans. It's yeah. So
Yeah, and that's really cool, you know.
And it's a great product to sell because everybody, this is an American dream to have a home, to own a home. And
I used to do mental health work and I was on a path to become a counselor, but I burned out. And one of the things was like, not everybody needs counseling. Fewer people want it, and even less than that want to pay for it. But everybody wants, needs, and expects to pay for a place to live. So I made the jump. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cool too. And I have a friend of mine, just a personal friend of mine who does some real estate stuff as well here locally as well too. And he's really into the whole architecture side of things and stuff, right? I'm not sure how big of a deal it is in your area and stuff too, but the mid-century modern homes and stuff, you know. So he works a lot with like, you know, restoring them, and man, he gets all geeked out. Yeah, and I'll talk a little bit more about him in a little bit too, but you know, when we kind of connect some of the pieces here later on too. But I know that's one of the things that drives him too, is kind of restoring this kind of piece of history, almost, you know what I'm saying? And seeing that kind of revive a bit in our area. So it's pretty cool. What else? Anybody else? All right, cool. Hold on, guys. Don't talk my ear off here, okay?
It's late in the day, we've had a lot of classes already.
Yeah, I got my cup of coffee that's about the size of my head too, so I'm good. All right, so I'm gonna jump back here to my slides here real quick too, because I want to talk about the story flow thing, right? So we understand the things that drive us, right? And then and as we kind of ask those questions too about our potential clients and customers and stuff, right? You know, and dig into the things that really drive them. We can kind of start to kind of see ourselves in the story, right? You know, so as we look at the story, I want to kind of map out this flow here a little bit, right? The first part of this, right? The first element is the character, right? The main character. You know, and as we look at the story flow, right? One of the things I want to make sure you understand too is that you know, looking at the story here too, you're not the hero, right? The main character, the hero of the story, is going to be your potential client. Okay, and it's that potential client is the journey that they're on, right? That we want to try to be able to influence. Because if you think about this, right, you know, who really cares if you like helping, you know, young families get into their first homes? You know, nobody really cares about that. What they care about is I'm a young family. I need to find the right home for me. You know, I need to find the right home for my kids. So they're concerned about their story, the journey that they're on. Okay, so the first element there too is that main character, that the hero of the story is that potential customer, that potential home buyer, right? And we need to understand, what do they want? What are the things that really drive them? What are they looking for? School districts they're looking for? Is it the you know, the status symbol? I've got the nicest place out there. You know, whatever it is, what are the things that are really driving them? And the next thing is, you guys, you see this all the time. You can watch any Pixar, Disney flick, Star Wars movies, whatever, you know, and we see that there's always going to be some kind of conflict, right? There's a few different types of conflict that people are going to deal with when they're kind of going through a story. There's going to be these internal conflicts. You know, is it something about them that they feel is lacking or something like that too? Is it an external conflict, something that's happening to them sometimes there's a person or a thing or something like that that's a villain. Is there a philosophical conflict? Is there some kind of moral dilemma and stuff like that that they deal with? When you think about people looking for a home, some of the conflicts that they may be dealing with is, hey, am I going to be in a safe neighborhood? I want to make sure I keep my family safe. Am I going to be in good schools? Those kinds of things. Those are the types of issues and things that they feel like they're going to need to overcome. Am I going to be able to get the financing to afford the home that I really want to have? You can help me find a great home, but am I going to be able to find the financing for it and stuff, right? Those are the kind of conflicts, struggles that somebody's going to have along with their journey, right? So when they come across these conflicts, here we go. You're the guide, right? And this is where you then kind of fit into somebody else's story. You kind of come in as the guide. Some of the great guides, when you can understand the concept, you'll start to see it in movies and stuff like that all the time, right? But you think of like Star Wars, you got Luke Skywalker, and he's the hero, obviously, the original, episode, the first trilogy part of the Star Wars series and stuff. He was the hero of the whole story there, and he's definitely on a journey. I mean, he's fighting his dad. Whoa, that's pretty deep, but along the way, who does he run into? He runs into Yoda, right? Yoda, the great Jedi Grand Master, 800 years old or something, whatever. I don't know, some crazy like that. One of the greatest Jedis to ever live. It's not his fight, though, right? He might be great, but it was never his fight. It was Luke Skywalker's fight, so it was his struggle to go through. But Yoda comes along with a guide to kind of teach him, train him, and to get through his thing. When we think about where we fit into this whole thing too, think about yourself in this kind of role when you're dealing then with homeowners and stuff, right? Of what are they looking for? What are the struggle they're going with? A guide, some of the things that are really common among how guides work in these stories too is that they usually come in with some kind of empathy, maybe some authority, right? You have a level of expertise, and I didn't get the name. The young lady that was talking about working with the millennials and stuff, and kind of being like a mom and stuff, right? You have a certain level of expertise and authority that can help them to make the right decisions in their journey, right? So you're already kind of in that sense by being like a mom, right? Acting kind of as a guide for people in that type of role, right? So that the guide, the story comes along and they help define the path, that the main character, that the hero is going to go on, and build the plan for them, right? So hey, here's where we need to go. This is what we need to do, and you're going to be all set. Sharing your infinite Yoda wisdom with them, right? To make sure that they're able to overcome conflict and then ultimately land in victory.
Dan, we're losing you on the sound a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. If you could put back up a minute or so.
Okay. All right. As far as sound, can you hear me okay?
What's that?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So as the guide, basically you come in and help kind of bring in the plan and help define the path and help them understand the way that they should go, right? And ultimately leading them to the success, the victory in the end of the story. And the victory piece could look like a couple of different things. Sometimes it's leading them to success. Sometimes it's helping them avoid failure, right? It kind of depends on the conflict they're dealing with. But you can kind of see when you think about the story and the journey that buyer is on, right? Understanding who they are, what they want, the conflict that they're dealing with, you can see then how you come in as the guide. You're not the hero of the story. You're the guide that helps them get them to victory and stuff. Does that make sense? Did that get through okay?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions about that before I kind of dig in a little bit?
It's quiet. They said no questions.
All right, cool. All right, so moving from the, and here's the thing about this, right, too, is I don't want you to get too stuck on this. I share this part so you kind of get an idea of where the different elements kind of fit in, right? You know, where's your customer fit in? They're that character, they're that hero. Where do you fit in, right? You're the guy and stuff. Because it's going to be really important, right? You know, and even as I think of my father-in-law, Amos the roofer, right? You know, being a craftsman, right? He's that guy, right? One of the things that he saw in his role, right, as a roofer, was not to just try to sell roofs based on the same information that everybody else was selling them on. He's like, hey, these are the materials that the building code requires, and so this is the best price that I can give it to you on stuff. He saw his role that when they went in to bid a roof project, that my job is to help educate them, right? To help them understand. It's like, you know what, the nails that are, you know, meet the standard code for roofing contractors and stuff are not as good as the stainless steel ones that we use that will not rust within the next 3 years and cause roof leaks. You know, so he saw his role as a guy to kind of go in and help educate, you know, to kind of come alongside the people that he was serving, you know, to help them say, hey, I'm going to put a good roof on my house that's going to last. You know, here's the thing. I don't want roof leaks and stuff like that too. Leaky roof is my problem. You know, and then the guide helps kind of define the plan by saying, here's the best path to success. Not only success in getting a new roof on your house, but helping to avoid failure later on by giving you the best roof that you can have, right? So it's important to understand those elements of the stories. We kind of start then to kind of drill into what this looks like for you. Like right now, practically, what does this really look like for you? Okay, so so next thing I want to look at here is let's imagine, it's going to show hands real quick too. How many guys are like on LinkedIn? Everybody have a LinkedIn profile? Most of you guys? Okay. All right. So familiar with the platform and everything, right? So we talk about, like in the examples, Yoda kind of being Luke Skywalker's guide, right? You know, so if Yoda had to fill out a LinkedIn profile, you know, what would his profile look like? Okay, so there's a few things, right? You know, he might list that he's the Grand Master Jedi teacher and all these things and stuff too, right? But think Yoda is kind of the model and stuff like that too. I want to actually kind of toss this back to you guys real quick as well too, because we're talking about building out a LinkedIn profile as kind of a way to help kind of relate some of the things we've been talking about back and forth here. Okay, you know, with understanding your story and in your customer's journey and stuff too, right? So if you think about, you're a guide, right, and a potential buyer might be looking at your LinkedIn profile, for example. How might you fill out things like, you know, kind of your title or tagline that's on your LinkedIn profile? Any thoughts on that, just even personally for you guys?
I mean, some of you that were talking about your, like, knowing why you do it, so you're kind of mixing that. Or some of you have your profile, what do you have on there? The name? Your name?
That's why you're.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Let me put it this way. I'll throw this question at you too. So for example, so the young lady was working with millennials and stuff, right? Kind of, you know, mom to them and help them out and stuff, right? I'm guessing a lot of them are probably like first-time home buyers, right? You know, so you know, is real estate agent with Keller Williams, you know, something that you think would be kind of like tagline and title or something like that too? Or I help first-time home buyers finding the perfect home, you know, that kind of thing. You see where I'm going with that? How might you spin some of those things when you think about the things that really drive you, motivate you? how might you spin some of those things so that if you had to kind of create just a tagline for yourself, what might it look like?
Oh, I'm not, probably wouldn't do that because I wouldn't want to define myself. Millennials is just one of my passions.
Yeah.
I sell luxury too. So I wouldn't want to box myself in so that if a luxury buyer is looking and I go, oh, I'm only going to work with first time because they're going to put me in a lower price range automatically.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, I probably would not define myself that way.
Well, then how might you phrase that to then fit both of those types of clients?
That I don't know. You tell me.
Well, then, if you think about what's in common between all of them, right? What is it you really help them do then?
Well, I tell you what I see a lot of that makes me realize everything seems so cliche. Every agent talks about their great customer service. Every agent talks about how they're going to take care of your needs. And I'm like, we all sound the same.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I've got a profile thing written, but it's just so cliche.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the part that's why I'm in this class, is to see if there's something that's outside of that can be set apart. So the story, I think, is very good. Now, what that looks like, I don't know yet, but
Yeah.
it's challenging. It really is challenging not to limit yourself to the perception out there that that's going to be a niche.
Right. Yeah, and I don't expect you to walk away and have it all 100% answered right now. Hopefully, if nothing else, kind of stir the pot enough with you to make you think through this whole thing and find some possibilities if there and stuff too. When I talked to my father-in-law, Amos the roofer, right? He was never like, oh, I'm Amos the roofer. I'm a craftsman roofer. I want to build a roof differently, right? He knew that, hey, I just try to do really good work, so the idea of being a craftsman is something that we kind of helped develop with him over time and stuff too, because he thought that was really the root of what drives him the most, and that's why I asked that question too, because here's one of the things, about a lot of this, right? And even if you think of other big brands, right? It's one of the biggest brands out there is like iPhone. Okay, iPhone certainly has a certain kind of community that they've kind of gone after, right? And not just iPhone, but really all of Apple, the Mac, computers and stuff like that too. Initially, they've really kind of gone after some of the artistic and creative community and stuff, right? But a lot more people have iMacs and things like that too. So it doesn't necessarily hurt, I think, sometimes to even brand yourself a certain way. It doesn't mean that you're excluding certain people, but to really say, hey, this is the thing that drives us. This is what we're going to be about, right? And asking that kind of inside yourself question, who are you? Might be one of the hardest questions you could probably ever ask yourself. Is like, who am I really? I struggle with that. Tammy even mentioned that, I think she mentioned that I was a writer and stuff. Is one of the ways we know each other. I still struggle with the idea of calling myself a writer, and a couple of my books back there in the background. But yeah, I still even struggle with that idea a little bit. So I get it. It's not an easy question. And I don't think necessarily that answering in a certain way will specifically put you in a box that you can't get out of, and you're going to close yourself off to other kinds of customers. Does that make sense? So what about this? All right. Thinking about like kind of filling out LinkedIn profile, and I think this is probably a good exercise to even kind of play with, even as you kind of go away from the session and stuff too, right, to kind of think about this. Because with a LinkedIn profile, there are several different sections that you have that you can use to kind of tell a little bit about who you are, right? So there's that kind of title tagline piece. There's a summary section, right, where you can write out a couple of paragraphs, right? And go ahead, just for you guys, even right now, what are some of the things, if you had to summarize some of the things that you're about, what are some of the things that you think would be important for you to put into your summary?
So I just jotted down a few words because they were confusing me, and but like creating a lifelong relationship.
Mhm.
I don't know, to help you with your real estate meetings, whatever that may look like. Like any word, right? But I mean, I know that where, like for you, you know, just like jotting those things down, like certainly have come back. But just the starts and the taglines of, for me, one of the most important things is having that relationship with my clients. And, you know, I want to know when your kids have kids, and I want to know when, you know, like a marriage was started when I sold some of my first clients their house last year, you know, and very exciting. And so, yeah, just knowing that there's gonna, I mean, I just want to know all of those things, the relationship portion of it, you know.
Yeah.
We got referrals from them, you know, and so, yeah. But anyway, the important, yeah. But knowing that those are kind of my main taglines are relationship portion of things, guiding them. I liked how you said that really the job is to help educate them. Because I really think, and in the ultimate end, they're the ones who are gonna either want that property or not, right? And so how I can, for me, it's really, I'm to educate, like, what does this process look like? And having my husband as the builder is great for me because I've been able to educate my clients on any repairs that, you know, in the inspection report, like having that educational bit of info on what's the plumbing problem look like, what do we need more, what do we need to look more in depth about, you know?
Yep, absolutely, that's good. I like that. Yeah, and I think one thing is really important though too is, you know, lady back there, you know, mentioned the whole cliche kind of thing, right? You know, I think with that question about, you know, thinking about the words and the terms and stuff that kind of define what you do, push yourself way past hey, our relationships are important, right? Because that can very easily become one of the cliche things as well too, right? You know, so push way past that and go real deep into that, you know. But part of, I think, you know, when you start to think about those things and you think about like things like, you know, relationships are really important, that kind of stuff can kind of help define how you write your bios and stuff like that too for your social media profiles and your website and all that stuff. But it really then starts to get a lot more into a lot of your daily actions, right? You know, so what are the things that you do when somebody does have a baby? Are you sending flowers or a card and, you know, stuff like that? You know, so you know, I think when you start to really answer those questions and say, this is who I am, this is what I'm going to be about, then the most important part of it isn't just saying it in your bio. It's then how do I live that out and actually be that person, right? So that when you see something in my bio like that, then it matches completely with what their experience is going to be like. Because one of the other things then that I deal with, and I work with a lot of our clients and stuff too, is a lot of the reputation management side of things too. And it has nothing to do with bios, but how do we drive you know, customer reviews and stuff, you know, on Google, on Facebook, on Yelp, or whatever, right? You know, so you want ultimately your clients to be saying the same things about you that you're saying about yourself, you know. So what's really then more important than you saying your, you know, relationships are important to you is them saying relationships are important as well, you know. And that just falls out of the access stuff. That's a little bit more than kind of how I write my bio, but you know, when you answer those questions, who am I? What's important to me? That's then part of what it looks like. So, who else? Anybody else?
I think if you go in the mindset that you're trying to make a sale, it just never works. So my marketing has strategy I've always been, you don't make a sell, you build that relationship. So if you're talking to them about, you know, ways to help them or educating them on stuff, you're not coming across as you're just trying to sell them something.
Right.
That's what I've always done. But I'm young, so I have lots to learn.
Yeah, no, that's actually really good, right? And just even a little bit about me myself too. You know, with Fist Bump Media is my company, and we do a lot of digital media, digital marketing stuff. And over the years, one of my biggest marketing tools has been just being helpful, right? It's been, I work with a lot of other writers and bloggers and stuff. We work with some small businesses and stuff like that too. But consistently over the years, I've done webinars for free. I don't care about necessarily like, even a session like this. I'm like, I'm not here to try to make money off it. I just want to be helpful. Right. If I can help you guys, that's great. But what I found too is that when I just kind of put myself out there and, to that point when I talk about reviews and stuff and what are your customers saying about you in the reviews and stuff, I think you probably find that if you look at some of our reviews, Dan is really helpful. He's just always out there and wants to help people and stuff too. And I know Tammy knows that about me as well, yeah, but that's a big deal, and that's actually a very legit marketing strategy. Is I just want to be helpful. I want to teach people, how to make the best decisions for this. I have knowledge, right? Like you think of Yoda, he had a great deal of knowledge and incredible skill, to teach Luke Skywalker how to be the best Jedi he could be. And you guys can kind of fit that same role, with home buyers and stuff too, is that with the amount of knowledge and stuff that you guys possess, understanding the different markets and things that your potential customers want to be in, right? I'm kind of the school of thought. Don't be afraid to niche yourself too much. If you want to go after luxury homes, go after luxury homes. If you want to go after first-time buyers, go after first-time buyers and stuff. And I know reality of your work, it might be just like I'm going to take whoever I can get. But I think sometimes it doesn't hurt you at all to say, okay, I'm going after this. This is what I'm going to help. I'm going to be the best person there is in helping those first-time home buyers, right? So I'm going to understand everything about the school districts because I know first-time home buyers are going to be young families, right? I'm going to understand everything about the schools and and everything. Does that make sense? So I think you're right on with that whole. Just want to be a good resource and educational for them. So. Good. Somebody gonna say something?
No.
Okay. All right. So as you think about those questions about who you are and how you fit in as the guide, think about the things like on a LinkedIn profile, your tagline, your summary, other media supporting links, articles you write, stuff, right? As you then kind of build that out and define who it is that you are and who you're going to be to your clients and stuff as a guide and everything, then how this plays out is kind of a big deal, right? You can write out your social media bios, you can write out your website about page and stuff, and like I said, if you want to focus on first-time home buyers or something like that too, and that makes sense for you, and you're going to be the best in your area, helping first-time home buyers and stuff too, you can talk about your motivation behind, why you want to help first-time home buyers and stuff, and why that's the passion for you and stuff, right? To fill that kind of stuff out on the about page. I think how you share this on social media, right? And I see this a lot with real estate agents and stuff too, is that, hey, I've got a new listing, so they can share stuff. Let me know if you know somebody that might be interested in this, right? I think when you kind of understand where your role is in that story, right, is that guide piece, then think about that kind of storyline and how that flows and stuff, and how you getting a new listing might be a helpful thing to somebody else and not something that like just send me the leads. You know what I'm saying? So I think flipping around some of that messaging a little bit, in your social media posts and stuff can really help kind of drive some different perspective. It's one of the things I mentioned. My friend who does a lot of the mid-century modern type stuff, right? That's kind of his little specialty niche that he just really loves. He's really passionate about and stuff. So when I see him on social media, I see the listings every once in a while. It's like, hey, this one just came on the market and stuff. He doesn't go out there with it as kind of a sales pitch, like send me all the leads. If anybody's interested, message me or something like that. He's saying, wow, just found this beautiful thing on the market, whatever, or hey, I just listed this one on the, on the market too. It's spectacular, really kind of fits the, this kind of vibe and stuff. But one of the other things that I think is really important in that too, and my friend, a mid-century modern friend does a lot of this as well too, is when you're kind of curating content on social media stuff, right? He shares a lot of stuff that even doesn't have anything to do with listings that really supports the idea that he's into the mid-century modern homes and stuff, right? And it's really to the point between his listings that he shares and other things, projects he's got going on himself, other content from other websites and news articles and things that have to do with the same kind of niche and stuff. There's no question in my mind that, Wade, he is mid-century modern guy, right? If I'm looking for something like that, I'm going for Wade. Nobody else knows more about this than he does. Using my Amos the Roofer example, right? My father-in-law, once we kind of pegged that whole craftsman idea, right, that he goes for, we've shared things on social media too that might not even have anything to do with roofs, right, but just have to do with craftsmanship and building quality work and building things that last and stuff, right? Because it was that kind of core messaging that we wanted to continue to drive. That when anybody visited the company's social media or his page or anything like that, that's what they see. That they see somebody who's constantly talking about building something better. And so we built a lot of that into the core messaging. So I think that's one of the big elements then when you think about the whole storyline, where you fit in, right? How important it is to really kind of drill down on this. What is the thing that really drives you? What is the thing that's really that you're really passionate about? And then you can twist that not only into how you kind of fill out your bio line and stuff like that too, but just in all of your messaging across social media. Okay. I see people taking notes and stuff. Wow, cool. Any questions on that or thoughts?
I like the idea of like staying with a niche because it doesn't exclude you from other things. And yet, and sometimes you have to dig deep behind the question. It's easy to have one like comment, I do it because of this, but digging deeper, I think gets you to the bigger why, the bigger passion that people have.
Deep questions for a Monday afternoon.
Cool.
So, Dan, how would be some examples when I'm thinking about you make them the hero of the story? We're thinking about writing our bio, but they're the hero of the story, right?
I'm sorry, you were breaking up on me a little bit. What was that?
So they're the hero of the story, but we're talking about writing our bios.
Yes.
So when we write our bios, how do we write them reflecting their being the hero? I mean, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
That putting them in that place of you're the focus, not me.
Yeah. So I think a few things. I think a few things in there, right? Too. So if I go back to thinking about what would Yoda's LinkedIn page look like, right? Because here's the thing, right? And I'm not sure how big into Star Wars you guys are or anything like that too. I'm trying not to get too far in there. Try to keep it a level that I think everybody can kind of connect with and relate to and stuff. But when you think about Yoda, he was never the hero of the story, right? It was always Luke Skywalker was the hero and stuff, right? Yoda never was. but he was a great example of the guide, going through the journey and stuff. And I think if you understand who Yoda is, he was one of the greatest Jedi masters, and trained people for, hundreds of years and all the stuff, right? He certainly had the ability and the skill to deal with like Darth Vader himself, but that wasn't his journey, right? It was Luke Skywalker's journey. So when I think of Yoda, then I think of like what would his LinkedIn bio look like? It's really kind of like one of the ultimate guides, right? I think things like title and tagline, might even highlight some qualifications like Jedi Grand Master, whatever, right? Those things are important. I think the summary, and if you were to actually kind of get into study Yoda a little bit and stuff too, and kind of find out some of the things he said about himself and everything, right? He talks about how much he's trained other people and stuff like that too over the years, right? So I think there's some things in your qualifications and stuff, that it's okay to highlight if you have certain certifications and other qualifications and classes and training and degrees or anything like that you might have that would absolutely be relevant to your people and stuff, right? Again, think of some of the things for the niche that you're going after. Okay, if you're going after the high end buyer stuff that's looking for the big $50 million home and stuff, right? What are some of the things that they're going to care about? They might actually be important to them that you have a Harvard degree. If you have a Harvard degree, then you need to highlight that and stuff as part of your qualification. One of the things that you got to go after for that. I think don't be afraid that if you're going after first-time home buyers and young families and stuff, to talk about how important it is that you're a mom, and you've raised kids in this area and stuff, those kinds of things I think are probably important to things like your summaries and stuff like that too. I think some of the other things that get to be really important when you think about this too is the recommendations, right? Not only what do the recommendations that you get say, but what are the recommendations that you give to people and stuff say. So highlight your specific qualifications, and certifications and things like that. Highlight the personal things about you that people can connect with. I'm a mom. I raise kids in the area. That kind of thing. Because those are elements that your buyer will be able to connect with and identify within them. Does that make sense? Does that help? Does that answer your question, Tim?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and then ultimately, and I can't emphasize this enough, even outside of kind of writing out those elements of who you are, what drives you, when you connect that with the heroes of the story stuff too, it's really everything else, how you live that out, how you talk about it on social media, even outside of your bios and stuff like that too. Articles, blogs you might write, all that stuff.
So consistency with the message. Really.
Yes, yeah. And a lot of times I think that is more important than even the bio line and what's on your about page and stuff too, is because a lot of times that's going to be the message that people really see. It's the stuff that you share across social media. So.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Well, we're about at 4. Do you have anything where are we at, Dan?
I'm good. That's really kind of the bulk of what I had to share there and stuff. So open any other questions if anybody has any.
Do we have questions?
Who was the TED Talk?
Simon Sinek. Simon, S-I-M-O-N, Sinek, S-I-N-E-K. and start with why. It's a really great TED talk that will kind of flip it around. He actually does a little flip chart drawing of how people kind of go through the buying process and stuff like that too as well. But it's a great resource if you want to check that out and to kind of focus on that why piece and stuff that like I said, when I challenged my father-in-law to what do you do? It's the same kind of message there too. But yeah, really great. Definitely worth a watch.
Okay, thank you. And you're going to record this, so if anybody wants a copy, they can let us know. We'll send it out. Are you open to any questions if they want your email for anything? Dan at Fist Bump Media?
Yeah, Dan at fistbumpmedia.com. If anybody has any questions for.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Great information. So, any other questions for Dan before we?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wait. Where's that? I'm trying to find the camera there. Okay. There we go.
Oh,
Fist Bump Dan, thank you.
cool.